Hello guys, for today's lesson, we're going to discuss about solving quadratic equation by factoring. The quadratic equation x squared plus 4x is equal to 5 can be solved by factoring using the following procedures. Step number 1. Write the equation in standard form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Rewriting the equation x squared plus 4x is equal to 5 into its standard form, we simply transpose 5 to the left side of the equation so that it becomes x squared plus 4x minus 5 is equal to 0. Step number 2. Factor the quadratic polynomial. After rewriting the equation into its standard form, we're now ready to factor the quadratic polynomial by considering the factors of the first term and the factors of the constant term, or the factors of a and the factors of c. Meaning the equation x squared plus 4x minus 5 is equal to 0 can be factored as the quantity of x plus 5 multiplied to the quantity of x minus 1 is equal to 0. Step number 3. Set each factor to 0 or use the zero product property. We use the zero product property to solve a quadratic equation by factoring. If a and b are real numbers and if the product of ab is equal to 0, then a is equal to 0 or b is equal to 0. That is, if the product of two numbers is 0, then at least one of the numbers must be 0. After setting the given equation into its standard form and finding the factors of the quadratic trinomial, the next step tells us that we're going to set the factors to 0. That is, the quantity of x plus 5 is equal to 0 or the second factor x minus 1 is equal to 0. Step number 4. Solve each equation. After setting the factors to 0, we're now ready to find the possible values of x. So the first factor, x plus 5, is equal to 0. Solving for the value of x, we're going to subtract both sides of the equation by 5. So that gives us a value of x which is equal to negative 5. Next factor, we have x minus 1, so being equated to 0. Solving for the value of x, we're going to add both sides of the equation by 1 so that we can eliminate negative 1 on the left side of the equation, giving us the second possible value of x which is equal to 1. Every quadratic equation has two solutions. Each solution is called a root of the quadratic equation. So the given x squared plus 4x is equal to 5 has the following solutions. X is equal to negative 5 or x is equal to 1, which can also be represented using a solution set. The solution set of a quadratic equation can be checked by verifying that each different root makes the original equation a true statement by means of substitution. For the checking, the given equation x squared plus 4x is equal to 5 at x is equal to 1, substituting the value of x, we now have 1 squared plus 4 times 1 is equal to 5. Simplifying it further, we now have 1 plus 4 is equal to 5. Then 5 is equal to 5. Therefore, 1 is a solution. Next, when x is equal to negative 5, so substituting it into our equation x squared plus 4x is equal to 5, that will give us the square of negative 5 plus 4 times negative 5 is equal to 5. So the square of negative 5 is equal to 25 and the product of 4 and negative 5 is equal to negative 20. Simplifying it further, we now have 25 minus 20 which is equal to 5. Therefore, negative 5 is also a solution of the equation x squared plus 4x is equal to 5. So what are the steps in solving quadratic equation by factoring? Step number 1, we're going to write the equation in standard form. Step number 2, factor the quadratic polynomial. Step number 3, set each factor to 0. And step number 4, solve each equation. Let's try to solve the quadratic equation x squared plus 14x is equal to negative 45 using factoring. Step number 1. We're going to rewrite the quadratic equation into its standard form. So from x squared plus 14x is equal to negative 45, we simply add both sides of the equation by 45 or transpose negative 45 to the left side of the equation so that we can have x squared plus 14x plus 45 is equal to 0. Step number 2. Factor the quadratic polynomial. So when factoring the quadratic polynomial, we're going to consider the factors of the first term and of course the factors of the last term. The first term can be factored as x times x, and of course the last term can be factored as 5 times 9, which is equal to 45. To check for the factors, the middle term of the quadratic equation must be equal to the sum of the product of the inner terms and the outer terms of the factors. Step number 3, set each factor to 0 or use the zero product property. And for step number 4, solve for each equation. So for our solution, we have x is equal to negative 5 or x is equal to negative 9. So that's all for today, guys. I hope you learned something from this video. Thank you for watching.